other guys. But
I
no, but just in reflecting, on the year again, that term entrepreneur, like I said, I kind of liken it to like when you take the kids bowling and you have bumpers in the lane, right, in the alley.
mhm.
And so you never are gonna go in the gutter, right? It's kind of a safe zone. The ball's always gonna get down to the end of the alley and strike something, right? You're gonna get some points. But true entrepreneurship, there are no bumpers in those gutters. So you can fall in the gutter, right? And and you
Right.
can strike out, but it's real life. Um, and so some of the things that you learn and competencies and skills you build, in that work environment where you were thinking you were operating entrepreneurial, some of them are not a fit. They're not a true fit for success as an entrepreneur. And so
Yeah.
you have to step outside of, the things that you've been taught and the things that you've learned, or even like the things that have brought you success in that, realm, and learn new skills and push yourself and drive yourself, even further, even if it feels uncomfortable. And so I was doing a lot of that this year, um, and forcing myself to really implement you hear me talk about this a lot, week to week, but the competencies and practices of who, not how, like Dan Sullivan's book. Because
Hmm.
one of my main goals for this year was, well, a couple key hitters. I wanted to go, I wanted to close the gap of having gaps in between work and projects. I wanted
Hmm.
increased revenue, but then I wanted to be able to do that with having um, more control of my time and not burning myself out. So I literally wrote on my vision board, more money, less work, right? Which seemed like an anomaly to the goal of increased revenue, right? Like exponentially increased revenue. But, I'm a woman of faith. I feel like I don't do this by myself. It's by divine order and divine, inception. But we actually have been able to forex our revenue from last year
Yay.
with multiple six figure. Um, like I got better as a businesswoman where I was able to um, increase or actually I guess it's a decrease. Well, no, it's increased my profit margin where, I was able to
Good.
extract more profit from the revenue, even with adding more additional people by finding efficiencies in just how I was working, how I was staffing my projects. Um, I made some changes, implemented some automations in certain areas of my business. And again, I did all of that without killing myself, without burning myself out, and made four times more the money that I did last year. And all of that was done within an 8-month time period.
That's awesome.
I traveled to two countries this year. Like I actually, for the first time since I truly, have been on my own with my business, like was able to step away and have like actual vacations. Not just, I
Yeah.
go back and forth to Florida, but I pack up my laptop, just work from there. Like actual vacations. Like I traveled to two countries this year that were actual vacations, right? Where I wasn't, I didn't pack up my laptop, didn't even take them, and wasn't sitting there trying to figure out how I could work. I would
Love it.
respond if I needed to, like on my cell phone to some inquiries, but I was able to put people in place that could respond, to emergencies if need be. I always have, like my payroll manager that helps with the contractors if they have questions, and she manages like all their payment and stuff like that for me. And so it just, we're in a good place, and then I also, again, I needed to seek out expertise. And that's the thing. I think sometimes, like people try to do things on their own.
Hmm.
And sometimes we do try to go the cheap route, right? Because we can look it up and research and figure out how to do some things on our own. But there comes a point where you do, once you start getting, bringing in some revenue, some profits, well, even revenue, right? you
Yeah.
need to hire the right expertise because they can help you maximize more. And so, like, we'll be adding some key positions. Like, I have a phenomenal, it took me to this point, like all this year, I've been looking for a really, really good CPA, right?
Mhm.
That could understand the complexities of my business, um, which really aren't complex. And in turn, they actually help streamline things a lot. But I wasn't, I would meet CPAs and they would look at me like I had three heads when I would talk to them about the structure that I desired to have in my
Mhm.
business. And so, and then I couldn't find anyone to really help me with the vision that I had that I believe God gave me, right? And how to structure my entities. And I actually had the resource, right, in my life the whole time. Like my
Yeah.
personal attorney that handles like my financial things from a personal standpoint. I never thought to ask him about it. And come to find out
Yeah.
he does do business stuff, and I've been working with him for like 10 or 11 years. Like he's helped with, like he helped me create my trust like 11 or 12 years ago, helped my father do his, and, you know,
Yeah.
it's been a great resource. But, again, like it's good because like the visions I have and have had are coming into fruition. And so it's just setting us up for greater for 2025, and I'm really super excited. I have a bomb business coach, CEO Drive Her. I've been working with Kimberly a lot more. So, I kind of shut things down like a couple weeks ago. Like I was wrapping up, closing out a couple of the
Good.
big clients, and just on a whim decided, hey, I need a break, and um, flew to the Bahamas. It's been,
I love
like
that you're
five
doing that. That made me
days.
so happy to hear that.
I'm telling you, like you need to have those periods where you regroup, you know. And I think also if you study all successful leaders, like they'll tell you the same thing. You need those times away. You need to build that into like your plan, right? And into your schedule where you go away and you're able to decompress. Um, and you're able to like think a little bit clearer. Like you'll be surprised at, how you're able to step away and view what you have going on, from a different purview, and you're able to get greater insight on like what you need to continue doing and what you need to stop doing. Those who should continue to be part of your life
Mhm.
and those who aren't a fit for your life anymore. And and so I, was able to get a lot of those insights, but just have fun and then be able to enjoy and celebrate, um, stepping up to the challenge essentially. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so it's been, like I said, it's been quite a year. Like I've met great, great people, along the journey. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to 2025.
Oh yeah. I know next year's gonna be amazing for you too.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking to again for exponential growth. And I think, we're set up for that. Um, you know, I've got new partnerships and alliances and things like that as well that have been awesome, right? That, help to generate more passive income. Again, so I'm not moving away from those core goals. And I think that's what's key. So like, because a couple business opportunities came, my
Mhm.
way. And I ended up having to step away from them because again, you have to step back. That's why documenting your goals is so important. Your goals and your core values, because things will come your way and it looks good and feels good. And you're like, I got to be a part of this. And when you really evaluate it, it doesn't align with your true initiatives,
Yeah.
right? Because those things would have put me more into that, that workaholic mode to be able to be a part of those things and get things done, right? And again, like one of my main initiatives was more money, less work. And so it wasn't, it was hard, but yeah,
Mhm.
like I said, there were some things that I had to, disengage from, so
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of learnings this year.
Yeah. I'll take a quick moment before we keep going on. Y'all feel free to come on. I keep saying on stage. Do they call us on stage on LinkedIn? I don't know. But feel free to come on up. Oh, do they?
Huh?
They do.
No, I was just saying. I mean, we can call it the stage. We
Okay,
always
yeah, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about here. I never thought about that as long as we've been doing this. But feel free to come on up if you feel like we are just talking about how our 2024 has been, what we see coming up in 2025, things like that. This very chill room today. So, and our last one for the year. So, yeah, feel free to come up if y'all can. Hey, Dr. Martin.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that I think 2025 will be the year of the black woman. Um
Really? Okay.
yeah, I think so in '07 I started a brand called I Love Black Women, and I did it because my aunt, we have a bookstore in our family and it's in Harlem, and it's the oldest black bookstore in New York now. But back then it was considered the ugly red stepchild of books, because the bigger one was Human Bookstore on 125th, and all the celebrities and everybody went there. We were on 156 in Amsterdam, so we were in no man's land back then. Anyway, the book club would come in, and they're mainly black women in their, let's say, late 30s to early 50s. Most were very accomplished, and well, back then book clubs were very quiet. They were not like they are today. It wasn't thousands of people coming to read silently and all that stuff. So these women were serious women, and they would ask me every time they would meet, Martin, why do black men do this? And I'd be like, look, I was in my early 30s, and I was like, well, look, Ati, I don't know. Like, I'm not that guy. So I was wearing a T-shirt that said "I love black women" on it, and I went to Twitter with the ILUV. I couldn't do LOVE. I had to do LUV because somebody else had that domain name and also had the brand. Was a porn site, so it was just me and this
Oh,
porn site that said that. So I'm saying to say that from 17 years later, finally I see black women. Also, something that happened back then. This was MySpace days and early Twitter days. Was that black women were starting to look at their hair naturally and say, I'm going to go natural. It wasn't a big movement. It was still very much small. Um, the sisters that came up with the curly girl event, I remember being on Twitter, and they asked me to market their first meetup because the I Love Black Women brand had mainly black women following it. So, um, fast forwarding 17 years later, where natural hair is something that I see black women embracing, and I see that we got the Crown Act and all this stuff. I could not have hope for a better outcome that than what I see happening now, which is black women saying, "I'm going to decouple myself from all that, and I'm going to put myself first." It took 17 years. I went toe to toe with Essence. 1 year, Essence they fired their entire digital staff. People thought it was because of me, but it wasn't. They were just cost cutting. What I did was 31 days of why Essence hates black women. They had came out with an article in '09 that said black women should have more unsafe sex. Literally, the article was that.
mm,
And I was like, what the?
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Emil Wickeby was the editor in chief then. And I just started listing how many black women editors they fired and how many, it just, it was a mess. Anywho, I did 31 days every day, kind of like Kanye said, George Bush doesn't like black people. So I listed ways, and this was right before they decided to. This was a year before they put Reggie Bush and um, Kim Kardashian on the cover for Black Love in February. So
Mm.
it was just like, it was literally like no. Anyway, my point of saying all this to say is that 2025 for me, I am excited about because I see um, the black woman that has left corporate America or that is still in corporate America is starting, I believe, will really take the reins in her own success more so than any other year I've seen. For instance, there's a young woman, I think she's probably 27, on TikTok right now. She's building out something called Black Project 2025. In the matter of the last 2 weeks, she's amassed 20 or 19,000 members. She first went to a platform called Heartbeat. She crashed the platform. Now she's on Discord, and she's hired. She's raised 80K. She's hired about 5 people to help her build out an app for a platform. And again, this could have happened a couple of years, and it did kind of happen with something called the Cookout app. It was two young women that came up with that, and they were bloggers. They were on Facebook, and they kept getting targeted by men. And so they said, let's build a safe space for Black women, and we called it the Cookout. And eventually, some other dumb Negroes decided to try to steal the concept, and they went on Breakfast Club. And these two independent young women said, no. They got the lawyers. They sued them. They started talking about it on Twitter. And within 4 days, those guys that tried to steal the brand from them backtracked and apologized publicly and all this other stuff. And it was mainly the Black tech bros. But my point in saying all these different examples is that I've never, with all that, I still hadn't seen the average Black woman online say, I'm going to decouple myself from all the drama. That's y'all stuff. We're going to take care of ourselves. And with Black women being the highest group that are opening new businesses in the past 2 years, that's going to be really important. So I'm super excited for what's coming.
No, that's awesome. That is awesome. And I hope that with that, specifically for the demographic of Black women, that can become comfortable and learn and unlearn, right? This whole economy of being the workhorse or hustle mentality, because it's killing us. Many of us are doing it for for corporations, for others. But, again, as you step into entrepreneurship, it's so tempting. You get caught up because, again, you do have like those first few years. You are going to put in a lot of work, right, to kind of build your foundation. But, like I said, I had to come to an epiphany where I didn't want to sacrifice my quality of life and even health, to be able to, have the achievements or success that I knew were there, right, and that I knew were within my reach. And so, hopefully, um, we'll see more talking points around, for Black women as we're taking care of ourselves, like really truly taking care of ourselves and being okay with not just being busy just to be busy.
Right.
I feel you. I feel you. I think it's to the evolution of our community and where I think our community is going to end up at. Um, we really needed Black women to prioritize themselves first. Um, and now I don't think without this event that just took place, that would have happened. Um, I think I sort of joke about this all the time, but it's Black women to me are always doing too much for everybody but themselves.
Hmm.
And I think this event has kind of shown that, you know what, we need to do for us. And I say we, I mean women saying to themselves. I was on a call with some people that were unpacking the election from a content creator perspective and connections to the campaign. And it was interesting. One of the Latina were saying that how she got a message from the campaign saying, I think it was the Monday before election day, that the week before election day, was that, we did tap into millennial moms. And she was like, they're saying it just then, they were just reaching out to millennial moms. And one of the things I really want us to, and I hope we can really, I think it's maybe I'll make it my goal for 2025, is for us to take our victory lap. Because out of all the voters, out of all the people that showed up, we are the most educated voter that made the most educated decision of any group or demographic. So when she was saying that, I said, well, my wife, I'm 53, my wife is 40. Um, Her millennial friends, and she's a mom, and her black millennial moms, they all voted the first day that they could. So I said, what you might have missed about that announcement and what probably could have been said better is white millennial moms need to come out and vote. Because black millennial moms did their job. And I think that's the takeaway also for me for 2025 is look, we are at the top. We know what to do. Now we need to turn in internally and deal with some of the issues we have internally and try to not try figure out what are the best resources we have for taking care of maternal health. For we're going to have a lot of unfortunately memory loss and um, people living with dementia. So we have a lot of work to do internally on our community that we need the time to focus on. And I think this thing that happens the next 4 years, next 2 years, isn't going to be a distraction. It's going to be a opportunity for us to really buckle down and focus on ourselves, whether it's education, homeschooling, and all the stuff, or as you talked about earlier, being at corporate America, but at the same time not letting that define who you are.
Hmm. Yeah, and that is huge for us. I went through a whole, um, I had to go through a whole unwinding and metamorphosis, like through that process. And it's interesting, the psychology around it. Like I didn't think that I, define myself, by that, but
Hmm.
by, like with corporate, but no, you realize like when you meet folks, they immediately will ask, like, oh, so what do you do? And like that's how folks identify themselves and that's how others identify you, right? And now I kind of joke, because sometimes like it's, for some folks it's like I can see the shock or the look in their face because I own three companies, right? When I, share that. So I got to
Yeah.
the point like later this summer, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just start telling people I'm a stay-at-home dog mom. Cause you can't tell Diamond different, my little dog. And I do, because if you're flying, like this trip I just took, like if you're flying, first class or something, certain folks, demographics, they just have to know. Like, so what do you do? I'm a stay-at-home dog mom. And so yeah, so
You know,
that's
you
kind of my
should really that may actually be a really interesting content corner for you because I'm sure would it be SSA HDM? Somebody, what is that? And you would say it, and people are like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna stay home dog dad too.
Oh,
You could
okay.
actually create. I actually think that's a viable community and connected to a bunch of different dog parks or areas that have a high concentration of dog owners
Okay.
and have people to show up at their dog park and who's a stay-at-home mom dog park or dog dad and have these meetups. You create merch for it, create a cute logo, coffee
Okay.
stuff. That you have no idea what you just said. Like that is actually a real because things are so niche and because people are going to need enjoyment. They're going to need other things to focus on than the craziness that's going to happen. And I'm not just, I'm not saying it just like, flip it and like, oh, this is going to be crazy. I mean, it's very serious and it's very disgusting at what's going to take place, or at least what's going to be attempted to take place. In that space, we're going, all people, not just us, but we're going to need other things in real life to focus on because the entertainment is going to be so skewed to dealing with the horrors of what's happening. You won't have places to go that allow you to just woosah and pets and gardening and other things. Even people call themselves plant dads and plant moms. So there's a whole, to me, a demographic and a vertical that you could really dive into, and your love for your animal will separate you really quickly from the pack, so to speak.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
I can honestly see that too, just how much people really love their pets.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Another little outlet to look into down the line.
Mhm. For sure. For sure.
I guess my next thing, while we're on the topic of next year, what things do you? We talked about this honestly for like the past month. Like, what things do we see like happening either in the workforce or just in general? I really like that Dr. Martin brought up like Black women, how we're starting to focus on ourselves pretty much. Like, what other trends do you guys see coming next year?
Oh, a lot of changes. Like this year, there was so many changes. Like it felt like from an employment law perspective, right? There
Mm-hmm.
were so many rulings um that took place that you had to stay on top of. So I anticipate that even more.
Yeah.
And many of these rulings, like they were, um, you know, it was like watching a ping pong game, right? Because they would, and state a ruling for this, and then they would, vote to halt it. Like just last Friday, they announced, this new thing we've been gearing up for, effective Jan 1, 2025, the new ERISA, um, where you have the new thresholds for the minimum, or for
Mm-hmm.
overtime pay, right? So the minimum threshold had increased, right? But Friday they just announced that the courts actually voted to not to enact that, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not going into effect. And I know people were
Yeah.
doing conferences and workshops and stuff to get, especially like the smaller businesses ready for, the changes and what they need to look out for. And, so I anticipate more and more of that. I anticipate employees, not just Black women, but employees as a whole, especially like the millennials, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know the generation even beyond them, but pushing back like with the workforce, right? Like it was funny. We talked about it on here, all the different things they were coming up with the what was the one, quiet vacation in, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the quiet quitting, and finding ways to make it look like, have their little dot green when they weren't at their computer working.
Yeah. The little technologies, like type of stuff. It's so yeah.
Yeah, I anticipate more of that, with folks becoming disenchanted and not, wanting to just like give their whole life to these organizations, right? Or have them monopolize all of their time.
And I see that stuff too. Like, what else? I was like, I did like a whole other section on that. I know for myself, I've been getting people like reaching out wanting to like redo their policy and stuff around like remote work or hybrid.
Mm.
And like a lot of people have been there's even like somebody like how to I didn't work with that one, but like I don't know, like teaming up with like co-working space and stuff and like renting office space or something like that, like how that policy and stuff would look like. Things like that. So I don't know. I see. I guess I see more hybrid. Obviously, remote work. I still see that saying there's definitely gonna be a lot of pushback by certain corporations. Obviously. Um. What else did I have like mentioned in my head? I know from a personal level for myself, next year I am definitely all about. I've been doing it this year too, but like I'm definitely all about self and like getting really back into my hobbies and everything because I feel like I've been doing so much like prep, not prep, so much focus on like business and stuff. And like even this year, I picked up reading and I went back to my local library and I finally went to like my first book club meeting last weekend.
Oh,
I went
wow.
back to my nonprofit, like I'm back volunteering again and stuff. So like I definitely continue that next year. But I kind of feel like I got sucked in again, doing just like businessy stuff, going like the conferences and speaking at stuff. So like I'm gonna be trimming down my schedule, which is honestly part of the reason why I'm gonna be closing my company down within like a few years. I'm giving myself 3 years just to kind of like really figure out what I want to do and speaking to a lawyer how that realistically looks like. But it's just like I'm by myself. I have my contractors help with certain projects, but it's just like for the most part I'm by myself now, so I don't really have to worry about letting go of people like when I had the agency, kind of like letting things go down gradually. So
Okay.
Yeah, so like this time it's just me I have to worry about, which I like. And yeah, it's like I'm still trying to vibe out what I want to do. I want to sit down the end of December and like write down what exactly I want to do, what direction I want to take. Like I still see myself doing this type of work, but I don't know it's gonna be under the least millennial anymore.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's me and my personal stuff. Like I just a lot of I'm gonna be selfish next year, even more selfish. And then my kids are both in school and they're gonna be doing all their extracurricular stuff. So like I'm not gonna have a whole lot of time anyway. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm just doing. I don't know. It's like I'm in another phase of life. So like with this phase, just like I'm just trying to find the right pieces that
The
match
right
what I need right
balance.
now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be a key word next year. Would be is how do we maintain balance. I think that's going to be key mentally also for people to. My wife is freaking out every day, and I'm like trying to keep her balanced in the space of, you know, the one thing about the situation that's it's not funny, but it's kind of funny, is that the big orange man, he's most consistent is his selfishness and self centeredness.
Yeah.
And so that's not a thing that you can build anything on because just his selfishness and self centeredness is fluid. And so anytime somebody thinks they were, have a solid ground with him, he may change tomorrow. And so you can't really build a destruction Armageddon force on somebody who's doing that. They have to be singularly focused. And so I keep explaining that to her and keep trying to keep her in the space of not freaking out, but like, let's look at what his history is and let's look at what he actually does and what he actually says. And I
What
think,
is she freaking out about?
oh, everything. Um, the Medicaid, Medicare, women's rights,
Mm-hmm.
martial law. She's jumped from Twitter to Blue Sky, so she's a little more calmer now. But um, I think that her generation is, having lived through the '70s and a gas crisis and a daily countdown of how long American hostages were in the Tehran, hold, and then seeing Iran Contra play out, and then being in Newark, New Jersey, and seeing crack hit the community as hard as it did.
Yeah.
All these things. I'm less likely to. Uh, the people that I know that did detrimental things to this country or in general, they were very singularly minded, and they stayed singularly minded. This guy in this situation is all over the place. Like there isn't anything consistent. The consistency is that there's no consistency. That's the consistency, right? And so it's a chaos of the situation, and the balance that we need to attach to ourselves is like you just said. That you know whether it's the children, whether it's you deciding what's your business, you deciding to even go from a constant always on call to like nope, I'm only going to work 4 days a week and I'm going to take 3 days off and I'm going to focus on I don't know, gardening or jigsaw puzzles or whatever. That balance that's going to be key to us maintaining our sanity, to really be in balance versus out of balance.
Yeah, I think like for me, and I've had to have a few conversations where I've had to help snap some people out of whatever they're in. I think that we have to be cautious of folks that are fear mongering and are targeting the black community specifically. Sometimes they're throwing in misinformation or scenarios that, aren't necessarily realistic and, things that are happening. And it's again, you're getting people sucked into this and they're getting themselves so worked up and worried about things and they're missing out on opportunities. Already, like in the last week, you know, last few weeks, right? We know the stock market has shot up. We know that certain currencies are,
Bitcoin is crazy. Yes. Hmm.
yes. And so, but you have people that are on YouTube, this consuming their day on YouTube or these clubhouse chats who really could use the increase, right?
Right. Right.
And they're missing it. They are missing it, right? Like many have missed, like, a few years ago. Like I remember, I'm still upset about it. I had to sell my XRP
Uh,
because the platform I was using, they said they weren't going to support it anymore because the SEC was in a lawsuit with,
right.
the founders of XRP. Some folks have missed that the SEC lost that lawsuit. And so XRP is back on. And when I tell you just in the last couple weeks it's been on, it is like moving and shaking. And, thank goodness I was able to get back in, right? The other thing that I've been reminding folks of, again, past behavior is was a good predictor of future behavior, right? So you have to look at, what were some of the things that transpired like during the last, Trump administration, and begin to identify like how you can be of value, how you can be a solution. Now, there's some folks that this is going to be ideal for, right? Who were in business and in business making or decision making roles during that term because they understand like with the increased tariffs and things like that, how that impacted the business. So now you kind of have a little bit of a head start, right? You can reflect on the things that you guys had to scramble and implement, um, and take a look at what worked well and what didn't work well, and begin to strategize and come up and prepare with solutions to be able to help, like if you're working for an organization, help them come out on a positive side or positive end, right? Or put things in place so that you can help them navigate those waters because now you become the expert because you have some knowledge that perhaps some other folks just may not have, like, or a different vantage point that they just may not have. And so while again, we can consume ourselves with some of the what ifs and negative things that could happen and could transpire, like I encourage people to think about um how they can be a solution, over these next 4 years. And, and some of the positives that may come out of, like there will be, like everything's not just all bad, right? There's, it's ebbs and flows. There's going to be some positives and there's going to be some negatives, right? But try to focus on some of those positive things and work to put yourself in a position so that you can have some advantages from more of those positives than those negatives. And that may be career shifts for some people. Some people need to upskill with technology. Like there's some people that are still scared of, like with AI and things like that, and it's steady and constantly evolving. And organizations are gravitating more toward it because it helps them increase their revenues, find greater efficiencies, deliver a lot sooner, and create more productivity. And so again, you want to position yourself to be able to be an expert or of value in these areas so that you can, essentially like capitalize on those things. But no, but yeah, I just, like I said, I caution folks with just getting themselves worked up because I worries like some people will just stall out. Like there's a point you can just worry yourself too much
Yes.
where you
100%.
just, yeah, where you're so scared to make any moves at all whatsoever.
And and it feels like I'm concerned also to your point about people trigger warning committing suicide because they feel like there's no way out and there's
Yeah.
nothing going to be done and da 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 da.
And
Um,
again, the reality is it's not going to
and
be.
unfortunately, we're affected by the suicide rates. We have the highest suicide rates of any
Yeah.
race right now because of a young. This is my Tyler.
Oh,
Because our young Miss Zora, our young black boys, are committing suicide at the highest rates of anybody.
yeah.
So I am, I share your concern that we don't just
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
ourselves in a situation where we're not thinking properly and we're not able to take advantage. To your point, I feel like the 6 months, the first 6 months, there's definitely an opportunity to make at least 250K at least with a lot of different things that'll be happening. So it requires us to have that balance and that perspective of
How are we
looking.
gonna do that, doctor?
Well, okay, so
Look,
I'm
put
a
me and
TikTok
Adriana
affiliate.
on. Look,
You
because
Me,
see,
then we could
right?
take off. Look, and we could take off the whole second half of the year.
I think. Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You brought up one thing. Like I could take if you do this clubhouse thing. I give you a master class in the next 5 minutes. What you just said about the dog park. No, but that. I'm not gonna. I'm trying not to curse, but because you inspired me by your comments about, oh, I'm a stay at home dog mom.
Yeah.
That is a brand that I don't know if y'all been on Printify, Zora. I don't know if you've been on Printify recently, but Printify has some really good stuff.
Oh,
And so
okay.
with Printify, you can create this Printify, and there's a black woman owned graphics company called Social DOK or DOX Docs. I think it's Docs, and they have these really good Canva um, collection of templates that will allow you to create a whole entire brand. And the feel and look, not these PLR things, but this is really like customized to black folks. And I'm not against PLR, but I just think that everybody's doing the same thing as you can't stand out. But anyway, so you create this great logo, create this great T-shirt, create this great feeling, and then look for some inexpensive projects like dog what do you call it, bowls and other things that are selling on TikTok, and you come up with this brand.
Mhm.
Um, you connect with other pet brands. Like there's a Instagram called Black People's Pets. I think it is. That's pretty viral always, and you just start sharing that stuff. Create your YouTube channel, and you could name it, pet parents or something like that. Um, and then have a separate content stream called Stay at Home Dog Moms.
Wow.
And the mom brand on TikTok, the word MON is really popular. There's moms at TikTok. There's TikTok mom talk. There's so, and you could be this. You could come in kind of like a Omarosa kind of like character, like just because I only have a dog, Ruby still matters, and so like, or Roxy, whatever your dog's name is. And so, like, when you pick fights with people, like, and you're like, you could. I'm not saying you have to. You could go the other way. You could be this really loving and cute. But my whole point to you is that I said 250K, right, in 6 months. And so, I think you could probably do 25% of that in merch. You could probably do another maybe 35% of that in affiliate money. So affiliate money right now, you only need 1,000 followers to become a TikTok affiliate. You don't need any followers to become a Walmart affiliate. You need at least 1,000 followers somewhere to become an Amazon affiliate, and then lastly is a Target affiliate. Not to mention, all these other things that have to do with the pets and other things as a content creator that you could. There's a platform called The Platform. That's literally what it's called. And there's another thing called The Plug, and they have. And honestly, I didn't think about this just now. I've gotten 3 or 4 requests from different pet companies. We don't have a pet, so I can't apply. I can't use any of
Oh,
the stuff.
okay.
But you could, because you have a specific target and your community is already online, it's already active.
Mhm.
You could do the 250, probably close. You may hit a, to hit a viral moment and do way over that. Um, if you look at what Walmart's saying going to happen this Christmas season, they have doubled what they're expecting to make at the beginning of the year. Their estimate, their forecast, people are going to be spending money like crazy, and it's not our people. Let's say people that we probably are around.
Okay. Hmm. All right.
Those are
So
some great
you done
ideas.
I know you just gave me a whole business plan. I love it. Thank you.
Now, hopefully he's able to come back in the last couple of minutes. But yeah, and it's funny because someone else was telling me I should get on TikTok, like under my personal page, because I was like, I do a lot of meal preps and planning and all that stuff, like
See,
running around.
I immediately thought of you when he was talking about like the mom, right? Because I was like, you can definitely, capitalize on that.
Yeah, I was like, I might do it. I was like, my thing, I don't like being on camera like that, but I was like, I may just like play around with it when I feel like in the mood to record just to see what happens. But I know
Yeah,
people will be interested in the content.
yeah,
We were just
definitely.
talking about you, Dr. Martin. Thank you for the
Yeah,
advice.
yeah, no, the pet mom brand and the pet parent brand, that's a huge thing. And it doesn't require you to spend, 10 hours a day on it. And I think as you do it, you'll probably find yourself getting caught in like it's one to me it feels like maybe I'm wrong in estimating how it feels for you, but to me when you spoke about it, you were so passionate about it. That's what touched me. And it felt like it was a natural organic thing. And then I know the pet space, as far as how much money people are making in the pet space, they're making billions of dollars in the pet space. So a black woman coming out and saying, and having walks with your pet, like you just saying, that you, I don't want to. I'm not sure. Is it Adriana? I want to.
Adriana.
Andre, thank you, Adriana. What she just said about faceless not being on, you could do the whole thing from the leash and your dog. Like you don't even have to show your face. Like you, you could do this whole brand where you're talking and you have just a phrase. You have a distinctive voice, perfect for voiceover. So we don't have to see you. We can just hear you say, and you do this a lot, and it's almost like it's a natural, not like you do the but I could hear you thinking. If that makes sense, like in your voice, it
Yeah,
sounds like you're
yeah.
thinking, and so you could really get into that space of like almost like Tabitha Brown, how she does with her eyes. She communicates very well with her eyes. You could communicate very well with your voice, and not actually have to be physically seen, but the logo is seen, your dog is seen, and there's a ton of dogs that are viral, a ton of pets that are viral. Um, so I mean, that's something that easily for a 250, but for most people, they can't necessarily just do that because there's not they may not have a idea that's has a built-in audience, has a built-in monetization path. And I'll tell you both this, and I think anybody else in the room, YouTube is prioritizing. When I say prioritizing, I mean priority shorts. And
Yeah.
so you can get to monetization on YouTube in 3 months with about 10 million views on your shorts. And it's not complicated because they have this thing called remixing. So you could just remix. I have a friend, she's at 50 million views to her channel. She just made 100K to her subscribers, and she did it in 5 months
Wow.
because this is what she did. And it's perfectly legal. YouTube is like, whatever, we don't care. You literally just are remixing 15 seconds from somebody else's content on your short. Now, of course, you wanted to really g off on this. You really want to make sure you have the right audience that's primed to buy
Yeah.
or support you. No, okay. But it used to be hard to get to the 4,000 watch hours. But the opposite of the 4,000 watch hours is 10 million views in your shorts. You can get to 3 million views in a month on average with shorts. So in 3 months, 90 days, that's what they say, you have to get to 10 million. You can do it. She all she did was take other people's shorts that was in her space and put her face on and remix it. And they were funny shorts. And so people kept sharing them. And, my point is saying that's just YouTube. That's not TikTok. I don't really feel monetization over an IG. I think that's interesting, but it's not necessarily the easiest place to monetize. And then here, LinkedIn, I feel like this is the perfect place to really start reaching out to brands to sponsor, to do a summit, to do a virtual summit, And as they see that you are consistent with your content, they will respond back. I've had a few brands respond to me because something I sent them cold, just like cold turkey.
Okay.
Thank you for all this advice. This
I
is good.
know. Now let me ask, what do you specialize in, Doc?
Content strategy.
So
But
do you, because you're giving out all this great advice, like, are people able to meet with you, like for
oh yeah, yeah,
sessions?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I right now I run a couple of communities for influencers. I run their private communities, so I'm a community manager of several communities. But yeah, I take clients on as a usually it's like a session usually runs 4 sessions, so it's like 250, or depending on, like, some people have multiple things they're doing, so then I will charge appropriately. But for the most part, most people are working on, hey, I got a book coming out. Um, I'm trying to monetize my speaking route, or what they're looking to do as a speaker. Usually, it's a one target that they're trying to reach. Sometimes I'll see, hey, you have multiple targets within this one target you should really go after. But for the most part, it's just helping people monetize their content.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's all. And what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Just my DMs. I mean, I don't have a Calendly. I don't have, just a DM, and then I'll send a link, and that's that. But I
Okay.
but I think that, to your original question, like, how do we get to 250? I think for anybody, I really strongly believe, especially for Black women, this is a time for Black women to say, what do I want? And I don't think we've ever really been able to say that to our women. Say, hey, prioritize what you want to do. Like, people say it all the time, but now I feel like there's so many different places that are embracing, and places, I mean communities online, that are embracing that concept. And as you, as a woman, walking in the door, and these communities, most of them are free, um, you walk in the door, and immediately, like, you're surrounded by other women who are pursuing their exact same purpose and passion. And you're like, wait a minute, we could do this. Like, yep, you can. The only thing that's, I think, that we have that is not great is our funding. Being able to fund things from the bank or from VC money. But there's been so many. The first person to reach 1 million sales on a live on TikTok was a Black woman. Um, Zoom now has 1 million people, limitation on Zoom because of Black women. The women that came up with how to win with Black women. They started that process off. Joketa. So I just think that there's a lot that Black women are sitting on today, that in the next 6 months, if they don't take advantage of it, I'm not sure the opportunity will be there per se. I mean, I think it will, but I think it's going to be super easy because everybody's going to be distracted.
Yeah.
And this is a time for sisters to come together on that sisterhood. Yo, I'm doing this. Okay, girl, I got you. I'm doing that. Okay, you're in Chicago. I'm in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel the energy. So to your point earlier, which is like, I don't want people to be caught up in what's gonna happen and what's not gonna happen. Like, yes, because you're missing out on what's happening. But yeah.
Okay.
This
All
was
right.
good.
Good. Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to come up, Dr. Martin. Thank you for that.
I know.
Now I'm
I
sitting here thinking
know.
about my own stuff. Like maybe I will just go ahead and just launch some of the stuff I've been sitting on.
You should, and like, y'all have the. I'll just give you a couple examples. Mag Cloud, MAG Cloud, is a
Uh-huh.
platform that allows you to build your own magazine for free. So you could publish the magazine, print it. They could ship it out. It's a 15 cents to 20 cents for short runs, and 15 cents a page for more, like 30 pages and 40, 50 pages. Um, the template for a magazine is on Canva, um, and there's a place called Placeit.net. Placeit.net is a site that lets you make mock-ups of something digitally. So you could put a magazine in somebody's hand, you could put it on an iPad or whatever you want, and have these mock-ups. Well, the magazine space for Black women, isn't a highly contested space. But the thing that's interesting to me is that we're moving into a place where people, like all the women, are like quilting, or all the women are like natural hair, or what have you. Um, the brands are trying to reach those segments and drill down. Like a Hobby Lobby is trying to figure out how to, like, because everybody's budgets, like you said earlier, has shifted, and they're looking at online and streaming. How do we reach? Now, you say I have a magazine, okay. Um, you could do it for free and have a virtual magazine. There's a company called Hazing, but lets you take that same PDF that you make on Canva and make it a flippable magazine. So the Hazing could be free. That version of your magazine is flippable online, and the print magazine could be, $6, $7, whatever. Cash App has a magazine that they drop it online, and then they tell you in these 2 days you can go read the magazine. You can watch it or read it online. But after those 2 days, if you miss the drop date, it's not available online anymore. It's only available in print for free in these 10 different cities. So they kind of push you to go to this location. And of course, the location is like getting your traffic and da 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 da. What they don't do, which I tell people who have magazines do, is do an awards, like the best of, like the 40 under 40 or da 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 da. And you feature different people. Now, if you picked like the pets, for instance, what are the best pet groomers? You could have an awards for the best pet groomers in the U.S. Charge $10 to put yourself into that. To sign up for the award, or you can make it free, and then find a big sponsor. But to gather that information and to put out the fact that you, as the Pet Magazine of America, whatever, or Pet Daddy, Pet Mommy Magazine of America awards, you have software. Like there's a software called UpViral that allows you to share a social media campaign like this across everybody that signs up. They give you rights to share. So you then become viral in this space. You own the magazine. You are the person that is deciding what kind of content goes in there, all this stuff. What the brands start to do is say, I need to F with you. Because even though you do this quarterly magazine, summer, fall, spring, winter, there's nobody else in your space showing up like this. But it didn't cost you but maybe, I don't know, $40 to do it. But you have almost at least $100,000 project per quarter if you do it right. So anyway, my point is to say there's so many spaces now that, and ways to drill down, one, to get your audience, two, to find the sponsors, three, to have an advertising revenue stream that allows you, instead of like Facebook or even LinkedIn. LinkedIn ads are now more inexpensive than they've ever been, because everyone is trying to figure out, how do I reach this audience that is not in a traditional space anymore. So I think that we have a unique opportunity, especially women, to really drill down to your niches. And even in the insurance space, I think we were talking about insurance, and figuring that out. I don't know. There's probably an insurance association that does, the best insurers, the people that did the most insurance, I don't know, premiums a year, I don't know, whatever. But who's covering that industry? And if they are covering it, are they old white guys?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you're part of that industry already, even with HR. What is the HR, like, you can, like people say,
I have an insurance business. So
there you go.
Yeah, you're right up my alley. Okay.
So I just think that we are sitting on these things that, again, Black women have a unique perspective on it and a unique spin on it. And there's so many other Black women that are also looking at figuring it out, but also willing to support you. And I'll just say, they would not get anywhere without our eyeballs. Like, they know that, and we need to really understand that. Like, they don't go viral unless, like the sister that was on TikTok that did 59 stories, Ressa Tessa. There's a ton of white people that did not 59. They did like 30, 40. They didn't go viral, but she did. And why? Because of her authentic Blackness, and her pain and her story and her trauma. And that's what and her desire to get it out, and get it out the way that she wanted it. not the way that a brand consultant would do it.
Yeah. No, I think this has been awesome. You've given us a lot of nuggets for 2025. Is there anything you want to share in particular? Because I think we're probably getting ready to wrap up,
Yeah.
like that you're focused on in 2025.
Um, I am gonna build a community called Black Solutions, and it's
Okay.
like something I announced after Thanksgiving for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And it's gonna be $1.99 a month for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and $7 for a lifetime, so you never pay again. And in that community, it's just all of our solutions that I think that we need to focus on. Right, that's happening right now. A lot of us are working on things in silo, and then at the same time, we have no idea, that we have black insurers or we have black HR people
Yeah.
that we could turn to. So I'm going to use my connections to really go after at least 10,000 people and to put 10,000 people in that community before January 1st. So that's what
Mhm.
I'm working on. And then hopefully in 2025, I can get to 100. My goal is to get to at least 100,000 black folks in that community. But if I get to 25 or get to 50, I'll be happy too. I'm not gonna beat myself up for not 100K, but at least um, that's what I'm working on. Just figuring out a online space for us to come to, where we can just the whole thing is solutions. There's no, it's not, like you're saying. I'm not in the space of negativity. I'm in the space of what can we do? What's the
Yeah.
solution? Yeah,
Yeah, because the more you focus on it, you're going to draw the negativity to you.
exactly.
So, yeah, so I'm cognizant of that, and I'm sensitive to just feeling like, almost like we're being targeted on that end too.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like psychological warfare in some respects. Um,
Pretty much, because a lot of things that he says he can't do. He can say he can do them, but he can't actually do them in that simplistic way that he said it.
well,
It's
no,
way
I'm
more
speaking
complicated.
from this perspective of, like I said, the fear mongers,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
getting, our people, because you talked about like some of the more extreme like outcomes that could happen, like with people unaliving themselves. And and that's what I worry about, people losing hope to the extent that they feel like there's no way out, and nothing to live for. Because
And
there's
I think
so much to live for.
I think part of that we forget where we came from because we are so far ahead of our ancestors. I don't care what gets taken away, quote unquote. We still are so far ahead. And so we just don't see that that space of how far we are ahead. But the black farmer never got that much money in the history of black farming in America. So like there's so much good. But to your point, the fear mongering, but also I think it's like I really agree with what you said. Psychological warfare. He is playing psychological warfare on not just us, but on people in general. But to your point, because we are a viral type of community, and we do fixate on things, I think it's a psychological warfare. We end up playing on ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the psychological warfare I'm saying is from like with these different podcasters and things
Yes,
that are
yes,
getting people
yes, riled up.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
For
it's
clicks, for clicks.
disingenuous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So, all right, this has been great, Adriana. Anything else on your end?
No, I'm just gonna be keeping an eye out for when you announce your Lord, the word left me, your community.
Oh,
Me
Black
too.
Solutions. Yes.
Yes, I'll be watching that. But other than that, I don't really have anything else. I just
Awesome.
appreciate you guys. Clonetta, definitely. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this year, getting this started,
Yeah,
partnering up on this. I'm excited for next year.
yeah, me too. Me too. And then guys, follow Dr. Martin if you're not already following him.
Definitely. You dropped a whole bunch of tidbits. I'm excited to see what happens next year, too, for you.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your Friday.
Bye,
Enjoy your
y'all.
weekend. Be blessed.
Okay. Yep.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.